Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. This is your host, Michael Weaver, and I am super pumped about today's guest, Mr. Mel Abraham. How are you today, my man?
I'm doing great, my friend. It's so good to be here, Mike.
Absolutely. So, Mel, obviously you're a little bit different of a guest than we usually have on the Insurance Buzz. So I think it'd be really great for you just to go ahead and who is Mel Abraham?
Wow. That could be a scary question, too. I'm a CPA by education, but the reality is that I've been an entrepreneur since 11 years old. My first entrepreneurial endeavor was, I remember sitting watching a movie with my dad. It was a movie with Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis about Harry Houdini's life. And I was floored at this guy that no boxes or chains would hold. But then when I looked at him, I go, he's ingenious. And so I got fascinated with magic, and so there was a magic shop across the valley, and I would take the bus down to the magic shop during the summer months every day. And one guy comes in and he talks about a gig that he had. Now I'm 11 years old, 10, 11 years old. And I said, "What the heck is a gig?" He says, "Oh, you get paid to do this." I go, wait. I can get paid to do this? And he said, "Yeah." So I went home, I put together a magic act, a half-hour show that I would do for kids' birthday parties. And 11 years old, I was getting paid $50 for a half-hour show to do balloon animals and magic. And I'm like going, this is the life, And that was the bug of the entrepreneur. And that stayed with me. This idea of being able to do what you want, do what you love, and affect people's lives in a positive way. And I go, that's cool. That's a great existence. And so that was my start. But I went to school, got my CPA license, figured out that auditing, ticking and tying, and tax returns really wasn't my forte. And I wanted to help people build their businesses. I wanted them to live their dreams and do that. And so the reality is that I became a consultant, valuing and buying and selling in businesses and working with entrepreneurs just like yourself to help them build their business, but also help them build their wealth, build their life to create financial freedom, if you will. I have a firm belief to my core that financial freedom is a birthright. And we don't talk about it, but it's just a matter of understanding the path to claim it. But society doesn't like to talk about it because, oh my God, it's the M word, money. We shouldn't be talking about money. Fact is, we should be talking about money.
I love that. That's financial freedom is a birthright. I 100%, man, that hits because that's I believe that wholeheartedly, and I believe that anyone out there, if they're entitled to it. Now it takes work. It takes hard work. It takes sacrifice.
Not to give it to them.
Yeah. It takes a plan. Okay. But it can happen. All right. And so I love that. And this is exactly why we're bringing you on. So you've been hustling since 11 years old, creating your own financial freedom, man. I dig that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't a straight shot. The fact of the matter is that, I've been fortunate enough to do enough things right that I am successful. And the good news is that the audience and the people at the live and your audience, they're fortunate enough that I've done enough things wrong to be educational. So it wasn't a straight shot.
That I think that life lessons, I think, are the best lessons because they help you learn, grow, and make sure that you don't make the so-called same mistake. Man, that's good. And here's the thing: is you have helped, and you're very humble. You're very, very successful, and but the road hasn't always been easy. You went through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout your life, and I just know that in talking to you in the past, and I'd love just for you to share a little bit more of your story around the things that have happened. Most recently, you freaking beat cancer's ass, which I mean, man, like kudos, like I freaking love it. And then you got right back to work. You're like, I have a freaking purpose and mission in my lifetime, and I'm not letting that hold me back.
So You're right. Life was good, and life has a way to hand you lessons. I was in mid 2019. I had just finished a multi six-figure launch. I am masterminding with some of the top entrepreneurs, $100 million billionaires. Um, I'm speaking on some of the biggest stages. And I fly home from this mastermind. Literally, I fly home and in a G5. If y'all haven't done the G5 thing, you got to do it at least once, and just make sure someone else pays for it. Just like me. You know, because I was a guest on someone's G5 to fly home from Puerto Rico. I stepped off that jet, and 2 weeks after stepping off that jet, when I'm like high as a kite, going, life is good. And I've got a great relationship, a great marriage, and all of that. And I find myself in a hospital bed with a doctor saying the CT scan shows a 5-centimeter tumor in your bladder, and you have cancer. So 3 words you never expect to have happen, but my life got turned upside down. He looked at me and he said, "Look, we're going in to take this thing out, but now you're going into surgery. The last thing you want is your surgeon to go, but."
Yep.
He said, "It's on top of the prostate, which means that we might have to take the prostate out. It's blocking the ureter on the right side, which means that we might have to put a tube and a bag in. And if it's bad enough, you might lose your bladder." So, like, in a moment, that perfection of life got completely turned upside down. And this isn't about cancer. This is about, are we prepared if life happens? So I knew that the only thing on my agenda from that moment forward was the fight, the battle, because I loved life too much. I enjoyed what I do, and I wasn't ready to let it go. And I don't know what it might be in your audience. It could be, financial. It could be physical health. It could be relationships. Whatever it is, we got to find the compelling emotional why to keep the fight going. So they went in for surgery. The tumor turned out to be 7.5 centimeters. I completely shifted. I put a whole team of doctors together, but I shut everything down. I fought the cancer emotionally. I fought the cancer physically, medically, spiritually, energetically. But I didn't fight the cancer financially. I didn't have to. Now, that was a blessing that I didn't know I was setting myself up for. I wasn't a candidate for cancer. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. They said the average age for this type of cancer was 73. Lord knows, unless my mom lied on the birth certificate, I'm not 73 yet. And so I knew that everything had to focus on that. But in the process, we weren't selling things. We weren't running out and shrinking our lifestyle and freaking out and saying, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to do this? I wasn't out selling my wife's shoes. Lord knows that would have been a fate worse than the cancer. And the fact is that I was in a position, a fortunate, a blessed, a privileged position to not sit back and worry about what was it going to cost, what would happen if I wanted the best doctors. I was able to make those choices and to be able to do that. Whether it's your family member that needs medical care, for you to have the financial wherewithal to say, I don't care what it takes, I want the best. To give that gift to them. Maybe it's your child. That's why money matters, because it gives us choice. It gives us options. It gives us alternatives to do what we need to do and control the things that are really, truly important to us. Now, shortly after that, the pandemic hit. So it got me to sit up, because I wasn't teaching some of this stuff before all this happened. But I had people that I'd been working with saying, you got to teach this, you got to teach this. I said, nah, I don't want it to feel like I'm a CPA again. And it was after the cancer and after the pandemic that I looked at it and said, this, because I could make no sense of the cancer. I didn't understand it. I looked for reasons why. I looked for something I did to blame, someone to blame. I looked for all of that, and the only thing that did was put me in a dark place. It just didn't help. Until I looked at it and said, well, what happens if the cancer came with a message? What if the why around the cancer is in front of me and I get to define it? What would that look like? And that's what got me to start looking at this and saying, I didn't fight it financially. And yet I saw so many struggle during the pandemic. I see so many people freaked out because, oh my God, is a recession coming? Oh my God, inflation is here. Oh my God, interest rates are going up. And as much as financial freedom is a birthright, financial control is within our reach. And that is what makes sense of the cancer for me. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing these days.
Man, I love that, Mel. Thank you for thanks for sharing that story. That's extremely powerful. The thing that I love what you said there, like the why keeps the fight going, and I think that that's really, really important. And here's the thing: is yeah, you're a fighter, but even after the cancer, you're financially like you don't have to work. You work because you love to. You don't work because you have to, which I think is, I think that's powerful in itself. I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners do start, that why and that purpose and passion, and to where it doesn't feel like work because you're doing what you love every day, and your passion comes through. And I just appreciate you sharing that.
I would say I'm fortunate because I am living a get-to life and not a have-to life. I get to live this life. It's a gift.
I love that. Man, and so there's so many ways I could take this right now, because you brought up the recession. I think we want to cover that maybe a little bit on this, but also I think that maybe the route I want to take this just right now is the road to financial freedom. It's not always sexy. All right. So it's not, the things that you're investing in, they're probably not sexy all the time. Typically the sexy things end up not being so sexy at the end of it. And so I would love to just talk a little bit about, in your experience, maybe some things that you have done to get to where you're at, and also things that you've seen helped your customers with throughout because you work with entrepreneurs, you work with business owners, which is this audience. Maybe some things that you've seen, either the mistakes they've made or things that you've seen that have worked really, really well, and you would encourage anyone listening to this to implement.
Yeah. So I think that the first thing I use this as an analogy, because so often what people will come to me with is a question like, what should I invest in right now? And I said, it's the wrong question. Because the investing part of it, that is the sexy part, but it's like building a home. The finish work on the house, the trim work that looks really cool from the outside, that's our investments. But the lasting, sustainable nature of that finish work is only as good as the framing and the foundation underneath it. And so what we all need to focus on first is the framing and the foundation, which is core financial principles. Things that have withstood the test of time, that aren't memes, trends, or fads that will come and go and go, yeah, I happen to catch the pet rock, or I kept the tulip mania, or whatever it is. And yeah, they made a ton of money, but it was freaking luck.
Yep.
It's not sustainable. If we're truly going to create legacy or generational wealth, it is based on the pillars of finance. And that's the thing that I think we need to look at. And what that means is, like you said, it takes time, it takes discipline, it takes persistence and consistency. You probably won't see results right away. And here's the other thing. Too often, people will sit back and go, I have money issues. And there may be people in the audience saying, yeah, I'm living check to check. And so I have money issues. And I said, and this might be confronting for people. I don't believe anyone has money issues. Whatever they have, they're symptoms. And so we might have money symptoms that are symptoms of behaviors, habits, and decisions we made in the past. And that's confronting because that means it's your responsibility, not your fault. I didn't say fault because that says blame, and that puts you into a spiral of blame and beating yourself up. But it's your responsibility. And the other side of that is, as much as it's confronting, it should be empowering, because if we realize that, it's within our control. We simply need to change our behaviors, our habits, and our decisions. Now, you might look at it and say, look, easy for you to say, you're financially free, you're doing your thing, but I'm living check to check. I get it. But let's talk about your spending decisions. Let's talk about your income decisions. Here's the first thing, the mistake that people make. Most people will earn income. They'll take that income and they'll spend it on their lifestyle. They'll look at what's left, and that's what they use to invest. And that is the source of their future. That tells me that you're building your future on the scraps. Mm-hmm. If you look at the wealthy, if you look at the rich, they make investing a priority. And as entrepreneurs, you actually have more ability to do this. They make money, they invest first, they look at what's left, and they build a lifestyle around it. If we don't like the lifestyle we can build, we go back to the drawing board and we say, how can I make more to fulfill the lifestyle? But by borrowing from your future or sacrificing the future that we know will come, we never find the financial freedom. And the thing why this is important to do this way is time. This is one of the first principles. Time is your most powerful lever to building wealth. Yep. Now, some people will say, well, I'm not making enough money. So when I make more money, I'll start investing. Whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, ETFs, and it doesn't matter what right now, because we're talking about the behavior. The problem is I promise you, if you're making $5,000 a month and you say, I won't invest, when you make $10,000, you won't invest because it's not enough, because your life grows. This is why investing is a behavior. It doesn't matter the amount. If all you can afford is $5, you're going to the gym, you're lifting a weight, you're getting in the habit. It might be a small little chrome weight right now, but at some point, that chrome weight's going to be these big plates. But if we don't start the time clock running on time and the effort running on your habits to create the behaviors, when you have more money, you won't do it. And so the amount is absolutely secondary to the practice of it.
I love that. And it's so true because I used to always when I was helping people manage their money, invest money, I looked at myself as more of a behavioral coach than anything, because the market is volatile. You get markets like we have now. People are like ready to pull their money out, and it's like, let's talk about the long-term plan. The market goes up, the market goes down, and so, but habits, you're 100% right, and paying yourself first. I think not only paying yourself first, but paying your future self. If you're not taking care of your future self, who is?
Well, the future's coming. And if you're not going to define how you want your future to be, then the government will.
Yep.
I don't know about you. I don't want the government defining what my future's like.
No.
Even worse, you get to 60 years old and you have to go knock on your kid's door and say, I got to stay in the basement because I can't afford to live. And we now become a burden to our children.
Yep. Or how about this? Business owners. I think sometimes business owners really struggle because they always have the business in their back pocket. The problem is what happens if you can't let go of the business? What happens if the business can't sell for what you think you can sell it for? Do you really want to have to continue to work the rest of your life to be able to afford your life? That answer for me is simple. No. I want to have a plan in place to where when I decide I want to walk away, I walk away. Or I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing because I love it, not because I have to.
Exactly. So you bring up a huge point that I see, and it's one of the key elements of of what we do with our clients, because too often we come to a business. We decide we're going to go in business because I got pissed off at my boss or whatever it is. You say, I want freedom, I want money, I want control, and it doesn't take very long to realize I probably get none of that. The business, and here's the hard truth, your business was never meant to give you freedom and control. Your business was meant to provide a solution to your customer, to have an impact and improve the human condition while generating cash flow. That's it. Your freedom and your control will be a result of building a second machine, which is the thing that most people miss, and that machine is called the money machine. It is outside the business. It's taking the cash flow from the business to build something that gives you the option to choose, which is what allowed me to do what I did during the cancer, what allowed me to do the things that I do today. But too often we sit back and say, my business is my wealth. It's not. It can be, and it might be, but it's not guaranteed and it's not assured. And so, just the same as we want to diversify our assets in investing to reduce the risk, it's important to diversify our income streams to reduce the need. And that, because to me, multiple income streams is no longer a luxury. It is a requirement. Because if one gets shut off by legislation, by a pandemic, by your health, by your choice, and you only have one, now you're in a world of hurt.
Oh.
In my case, I had multiple, so I shut the active stuff down and said, turn the machine on. We're going to keep living.
Man.
Because I have no idea what it would have been like to go through the fight of that cancer if I knew I had to be at the office or at the studio every day, because I was going to so many doctors, doing so many different treatments that I was able to just focus. And that's the gift we should be giving ourselves, the choice.
Mel, you are speaking my language today, my man. We are getting buzzed on the buzz, and I am freaking stoked. This is so good. And look, for anyone listening to this right now, and Mel hit on this earlier, we all start from somewhere. Unless you are just somehow one of the blessed few that are born into a family with an exceptional amount of money, that's great. majority of people like myself and Mel, we weren't born that way. Like, we were paycheck to paycheck at a point in time in our lives. I will never forget that, living in a 375 square foot apartment and literally paycheck to paycheck. Like, me and Courtney would literally sit down, budget, like, how are we going to do this? But we were still we were still doing the Roth IRA thing. We were still making sure we were trying to pay our future selves. And so I just want to reiterate that, of making sure that you're making the choice to pay your future self so that you do have things working for you while you sleep. All right. So that you do have the choice one day.
The money we make, they are our best employees, because they'll work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They don't unionize. They don't want PTO. They don't get sick. They don't do that if we direct it. And the idea is to make sure that those little employees, our dollars, work harder for us than we work for them.
My wife's grandfather once told me, he was a farmer and farmed a lot. And he said, the best money you will ever make is the money you make in your sleep. He said, when you have your money working for you all the time, he said, that's the best money ever. And I think that wealth creation is kind of like a farmer. You have to plant the seeds, but you have to give the seeds time to eventually turn in the crop, to be able to harvest the crop. Like, it just doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes time, which you said earlier. Right. Time is your friend. Let the money work for you while you're doing life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said a lot of good things there, and I love the freedom, money, control, and I love how you related that to business, to where, because I'm a big believer that all the greenbacks are, all money is an exchange of value. Okay, so the more value you provide, the more money you make, but then how can you make that money work for you? And so I love that you touched base on that, because I think every entrepreneur and business owner gets into it for freedom and control, okay? But it's up to you to create the freedom and control.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is good, Mal. This is good. So let's go into the recession conversation a little bit, all right? Because this is a hot topic amongst everyone, all right? Customers are definitely calling in, like, what do you think? What should we do with our money? Hey, can we save any money? So I think this would be a good conversation from an expert. Now, obviously, you don't have a glass ball. If you did, you wouldn't be here, because you'd be living on an island, more than likely, like sipping some cool drinks. But how can people right now, at the beginning of who knows what kind of recession we're going to be in, what are some things that you're telling your customers, telling people when they're asking you?
So I think the first thing to do is this. Look, here's the deal. If we watch the media, if we watch the social media, if we get the papers, we need to realize something. They don't have our best interest at heart. Their job isn't actually to provide you the news. Their job is eyeballs, viewers, followers, ratings, and advertising dollars. And the way they do that is they spin the fear.
Yep.
They spin the fear, and they focus, micro-focus on the negativity and the fear that will generate the chatter. And if we choose to want to swim in that ocean, we can. Tell me how that makes you feel, though. Because here's the thing. A couple things. One, we've been here before. They don't even want to call it a recession right now, but technically we are in a recession. We've had two sequential quarters of declining growth. Technically, we're in a recession.
I guess we just changed that definition. I don't know what happened there, but...
Yeah. Well, now they're saying, well, the labor market. And I go, whatever. You can make your excuses, and I think the reason they're doing it, quite frankly, not to get political, is they have an election coming up in November, and they go, we got to be careful about what we do. Well, I get it, but whether we're in a recession or not actually doesn't matter. In a recession, more millionaires are made than any other time. The fact is this. I'm going to be 61 this year, in a month. So I've been through 7 recessions. I've been through 8+ bear markets. I've been through 40+ interest rate hikes. I've been through the S&L crisis, 9/11, the banking crisis, 2008, the Great Recession. Lord knows why they call it great. It wasn't great for anyone, all right? But the Great Recession, I've been through the pandemic. I've been through all of these things, and you know what? I'm still here. Here's the thing, though. I got scared in the past to the point where I ran away from the market. I put everything in cash. I got on the sidelines. I freaked out. I curled up in a fetal position and said, oh my God, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. And we all might be feeling that way. And I get it. It's a natural tendency to say, well, let me just park it on the side. Let me get out. I can't take the pain. I went back and I did the math. And I said, if I stayed in the game back then and kept my investing going as I was before I got scared and got out and ran it all the way to today, how much more would I have in net worth? That number?
How much?
$3,918,723 based on the data. My fear cost me $4 million. What does that mean? That means we got to stay in motion. We don't make reckless decisions, but we stay in the game. There's going to be opportunities because there will be people that are scared and they're going to run for the hills. Things will drop. We might have a correction in the market. The market might go down another 20%. But you know what? If you look at the charts, long term, the market goes up. Now, if you're 3 years from retirement, all that, it's a different game for you. We have to play it a little differently. We have to be more conservative. We have to protect the downside because you may not have the capacity to do it. However, for most people, if we're sitting in and we have a decade to go, the market goes up 8 out of 10 years. This just might be the 2 years we're down. The average recession is only 11 months. If it takes them 6 months to diagnose it, that means that by the end of the year, we might be okay. What are we freaking out about? So I say that we stay in the game with a strategy that works. So accept it, be aware of it, because fighting it isn't going to do any good. Focus on optimizing your cash flows and profits. That means expense management on one side, but scaling income on the other. Too often we're sitting back saying, what I got to cut, what I got to cut. You can't cut yourself to wealth. You have to grow yourself to wealth.
That's good. You can't cut yourself to wealth. You can only grow yourself to wealth. I freaking dig that.
So now it's sometimes these things just come out. I don't know. So now we optimize our cash flows by going through our expenses and knowing that, and then looking for ways to scale our income. And one of the key elements of income before I get to the next point is this. You all that are entrepreneurs, that are selling a product or service, and I mean this with all the kindness in my heart, because I don't want you to go out and manipulate the market, is that you need to make sure that what you are selling, what you are offering, is essential to their lives. Meaning that you need to be able to articulate it in a way that they see it as a necessity and not an option. That doesn't mean manipulate it. If they don't need it, they don't need it, period. Okay? But because I've seen people get sold into investments, into insurance policies, into other programs. They didn't need it. So it's not about making the sale. It's about doing the right thing, but making sure that when we articulate it, we're articulating it in a way that they see it as a necessity in their life.
Amen.
Especially if they're coming back to you and saying, how can we cut this? They're seeing it as an option. I'll give you an example, okay? Good news is I'm self-insured. I don't need the insurance. But I had 2 term policies that I had. When I was single, I got them a long time ago. One is in an islet and everything. And there was another, and so I had 2 policies. Well, one of them lapsed because I never received the payment notice, and the agent never contacted me. $1 million policy lapsed. There's no way I was going to get it back because I had the cancer. It's gone. And the good news is I don't need it. If I had needed it, I'd have been screwed. You know, we still have the one policy. It's going to expire in a handful of years anyways. And by the time I've gone past the cancer long enough, the insurance folks will say you're too old to insure you anyway. So.
No, I think you hit on a valid point. I think that's very, very important. And that was one thing I always tried to do as an insurance professional when I was in that field. And what I do today in anything is put yourself in the seat of the customer. Put your mom in the seat of the customer. Put your grandma in the seat of the customer. And if you wouldn't recommend them purchase that product, of course, at the consumer's age, why would you recommend the consumer? So always make sure it's in the best interest of the consumer, not in the best interest of your pocket. That was always my golden rule, and I think that's and I think that's exactly what you're saying, and I love that.
And I think especially for this industry, and this is something that I think the financial services industry misses. You can probably anticipate I'm rather critical and demanding on my financial my wealth strategy team, and that is that your first job, I believe, is to educate and inform the client. Your job is never to make a decision for the client, but to give them the information so they can make the right decision. Financial services don't do it that way necessarily. And it's not all their fault. Many people, I don't understand it, it's too complicated, and therefore I trust you. It's a mistake. I was sold into annuities that were bad from old because I didn't ask the right questions. So the first thing is to be an educator. The second thing is to be a servant. And it's a servant to their life's vision. Because our job, whether it's you or me, is to help people make the vision a reality. Not to give them obstacles why it can't be.
I love that.
And so we need to buy into it from that perspective and then look at it and say, if what I have isn't the best way to get them there, then let's get them what it is.
That's right. Just do the right thing. Integrity is everything. Because what you put into this world, you get right back out of it. I'm a firm believer in that. Just
in a multiple
always, way. And you just hit on it. Like, even if you can't offer it, that's okay. Like, have a holistic plan, approach, and conversation with your customers, and be able to solve their vision, because it's their future, it's their plan, it's not your plan.
I don't tell this story often. But so my last name's Abraham. My family name isn't Abraham. my father and my mother were Jews born in Baghdad. And when my dad was 17, he was amongst 4 other guys that were smuggling the Jews out of Baghdad, bringing guns in. And 2 of them got caught. And they were being tortured to give the names of the other 3, including my dad. My dad took his granddad's name of Abraham. They all got fake papers. And the 3, including my dad, helped the other 2 escape. They went through Iran to Israel to get out. My dad came to the States at 17. 4 days before my dad passed away, he told me the story in a lot of detail. And I thought I was going to be able to record it because we didn't think he would pass away. And I never got it recorded. But I asked him a question when he told me that. He was sitting in the wheelchair. He was probably as spirited as I had seen him in that 21 days that he was in the rehab center. And I said, you knew at 17 years old that if they caught you, they would hang you in the square as an example. At 17, that was the last thing on my mind. Why did you do it? What made you do it? And he sat in that wheelchair, sat tall as ever, looked me in the eye, said, because it was the right thing to do. And that's the way my dad lived his life. He was my example. And I think that's the thing we ought to think about. It's doing the hard things in the difficult times that matters.
Mel, thank you. I don't know about anybody else, but I just got goosebumps listening to that. So thank you for, that's powerful. It's extremely powerful. All right, let's go more upbeat here. So Mel, what is, so number one, I'd love if, obviously, the best way for people to contact you if they want to follow you, but also I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the Affluent Entrepreneur Blueprint, what you got coming out as well. And obviously he has a podcast. I'd recommend everyone going and checking that out, the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. But Mel, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, this new season of my life is to serve. It's to help people find that path to financial freedom. I got no investments, no insurance to sell anyone. I simply want to sell them on the dreams and the possibility that you can reach them. That's it. It's what gives sense to the cancer for me. So it's a gift to me to be able to do that process. Now that's why I have the show, the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. I also do regular Q&A with folks. So if you have questions, you can get them to me at askmelnow.com. I answer them. I've been doing money mentoring over coffee on Instagram Live, and I bring people up live and answer their questions. And then I have the process that I used. My friends that pushed me into this, saying, "Hey, you need to teach this," and I resisted it because I didn't want to go back to CPA. I took the process that I used for my life, my clients, and I built it so it will allow people to get educated, empowered, and tactical with the things they do. It's called the Affluence Blueprint. And it's literally the 3 pillars, and the most focus is how do we live a richer life? How do we have a deeper impact? How do we have complete freedom? And the process of doing that as an entrepreneur, primarily to make that happen. And it's a combo hybrid program where there's education and training that you have access to online, but I also coach, and I work with people and carry them through the process. And that's where I'm doing most of the work that I'm doing these days to help people start to really come through at that level. And so that's the Affluence Blueprint. It's the same process. My son is 32. His wife is 30. They have our first granddaughter just turned 1, and they got another one on the way in January.
Congrats!
So we will have 2 grandchildren, and they own 3 homes and a multimillion-dollar net worth, and it is this process that helped that happen. So it doesn't matter your age or stage. if we have the principles, if we have the structure and the foundation, if we understand those things and we start to create the behaviors will create the wealth.
Amen. So Mel, they can follow you on the podcast. Obviously, you gave the website. Are you on? How can they follow you on social media?
I'm Instagram, Mel Abraham 9. I'm not sure who the first 8 were, but we're going to hunt them down. My website is melabraham.com, and the Affluent Entrepreneur Show, you can go to the affluententrepreneurshow.com there to get that. So I want this to be a place where we can have a community to have safe, sane conversations around money, around wealth, no matter the situation, to help people make it happen.
Well, brother, thank you so much for your time today. This was powerful, man. I wrote down so many good notes. I don't want to say one-liners, but man, I really appreciate you. I got a ton out of this episode myself, so thank you.
Oh my God! Thanks for asking me. Thanks for bringing me to Kansas City. I'm looking forward to connecting with you all live and everything. We'll have some more fun. We'll dig deeper and walk through some more things and everything. It's my pleasure to be here. It's a blessing to me to serve and to support. And if I could leave anyone with just one thought, it would just simply be to always strive to live a life that's going to outlive you.
I love that. That's a good way to end. So for all of you listening, you all know this. Time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. I appreciate you all spending it with Mel and I today. Other than that, my friends, go out, make it great. Mel, thank you again, brother.
Thank you, my friend.